because that was a question I've heard in the public, what training can you do? And that's an example of one that you can pause a video and then replay it.
No.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, so that's, you know, we can talk about that, but we do feel we need that. I mean, it's not as if we don't have grandiose plans.
This is number 6 as well. What? May I?
Yeah.
So your room is about a little bit bigger than this room, pretty close.
I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
Probably someone.
Yeah.
So can any more of those training sessions take place here? Because I think many people thought that was one of the purposes of this building.
What we do, a lot of things. We already do our CPR training here. We do conflict of interest training. We'll be doing discrimination prevention training. We do all that stuff.
We do it at the Hyannis Terminal as well.
We do it at the meeting room there.
So no other
We don't have any plans to do
training session,
no
types of training could be done here, even if you could teleport people. Sounded, one of your reasons for needing this space was you were concerned about the loss of time due to commuting.
We're talking about training the terminal employees who are there in other jobs. So some of those trainings, the things we're talking about, ergonomics, those are done between boats, so that you bring them, dock workers in, you bring ticket sellers up, you rotate them along so that they can still continue to function in their jobs during their workday. That's where the commuting would be very inefficient, to bring them up half hour each way probably.
We do oil spill training now. We go up in the room, we go over, here's the boom, we go over everything. All right, pretend there's a spill in slip 3, what do? All right, we get on the phone, we make the notifications, we deploy the boat, get the boom, actually deploy the boom, so you're actually right there at the terminal. You need a place to, manage that as well at the terminal.
Regardless of the training, there's still a need for a room like that to manage events, TSA events, oil spills. You have to have a room where you can have a command and control operation to manage whatever event has to happen, is happening at the time.
And I
You
envision
can't
lost
just,
and found, like in the Hyannis Terminal, a lot of the engineers work out of the Hyannis Terminal. If there's something going on with the boat or something, they're waiting for the boat, they're working there. The lost and found, if the other building's not going to be heated, the phone calls, the emails, and that information can be done in that room as well.
Bottom line is, in a terminal building this size, you need one multi-purpose room.
yeah, you have to.
Bottom line is, you just,
Why couldn't, in the event of a contingency, like TSA event or something like that, the terminal manager and the terminal agent have combined 200 and 300 and 400 square feet?
Because
And you could put another 50 or 60 square feet in there, and they could have their contingency in the office.
Because I am one of the people who are not authorized to be inside those rooms without terminal manager or terminal for TSA requirements. And others are not. And other people who maybe need it, but that may not be allowed to be in those rooms.
It's not only us. The multi-purpose room isn't for only us. It would be, in an oil event, be Coast Guard.
Sure,
No,
that's, I'm saying
you
that,
have to
yeah.
have a room where they can
like how many
establish
people in an
communications
event
with
do you
their
have when you
people
have
and
an
stuff
event?
like that. It's just
It's
not
quite
an
more than
office
5 or
space.
6.
And
So how often?
Did we have an event?
Like if you have an issue, the police chief, there'll be more than 5 or 6 people in a room, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So
15
Mark,
or 20.
how often do you have events like that? Like in a month, say, on average? I mean, is it 1 or 2? Is it 10?
No.
It doesn't, the frequency
No,
doesn't
not that.
matter. You have to have the facility so it's there for that event.
Right.
You know it's gonna
I'm
happen.
just-
Maybe it happen once in 50 years,
could
but
I
you
get-
need that
but Can I
space.
get an answer to that roughly, like in a year even?
In an event,
Where you really, I mean, where you really use a dedicated room like that?
for an event, last year we had,
2 or 3 times a year?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just-
just-
just a sense.
Yeah, but more often, yeah.
We also use, like, there's other, like we have training, as I pointed out, training for oil spill and things like that, but we also have things like rescue boat training and things like that, that it's part classroom, part
Hands-on.
hands-on,
Yes.
and there's no water here. So,
Has there ever been talk about thinking about combining the break room in the kitchen and the function room, the
There has been talk,
multi-purpose training room?
there has been talk of that, and I'm
Yeah,
against it.
it just, I don't know how that would coincide with schedules, I don't know how many people use the break room at any
But
given
then
time.
the issue is you're doing a class and someone's trying to take the break and they interrupt the class when they're on break time. Because some of these might be a short-term session, some might be a long-term session.
Mhm.
This looks to be the only room that's a common room, a multipurpose room in the entire terminal, which for your operation, you've got to have at least one of these rooms.
And we've also gotten into trouble with the other terminals because we never planned enough space. We've always made enough space, which is, you know, that's our, anyway, we can,
So the Hyannis room upstairs is used daily? I mean, it feels like a comparable amount of public space.
actually, the Hyannis room is bigger.
It's bigger,
Yeah.
okay.
Much bigger.
How often is it used?
We probably have someone in there at least 3 or 4 times a week, because a lot of times you'll have the port engineers who are coming to meet the boat, or working on the boat. They'll be doing work in between the boats coming in and waiting for it. They'll have the laptop set up on the network.
That's another reason, that's another use you make it.
Just sitting on chairs?
Yeah, using that as a de facto office while they're waiting for the boats to come in to do, you know, whether it's repairs, inspection, whatever it may be. Happens all the time in Hyannis now.
And actually, that may be more, you know, than a few times. In the event we have any mechanical issues, where the Coast Guard does, is they may well use that room, you know, to have their meetings and to go over stuff. And they have done that, I've seen that at Hyannis. It's probably more, hopefully we have fewer mechanical problems, but those types of situations, not only will they be outside and on the boat, but they also may go in and use that room.
The ergonomics are daily, or?
No, it's not daily. Ergonomics are
I
not.
have no idea.
No,
Once a,
it's roughly once a year, something like that.
So,
There's different types of training requirements.
It's different functions throughout the year. It's
Different needs.
different needs.
My
But the
memory,
key thing about the room, from an engineering standpoint, it has to be engineered for multiple communication connections, you know, network connections, computer connections and stuff like that, where a lot of these other rooms won't require that.
I'm skeptical about your scenario about if there's a disgruntled customer or someone who has a special situation or something like that, and the terminal manager and the terminal agent have to talk to them in private. In the event that there's a bus situation, the bus driver talks to them right by the side of the bus. In the event that there's a situation in the coffee shop, or the bar, or the grocery store, or in the MBL, well, maybe not the MBL, but in most business, in all the businesses I've ever been in Woods Hole, if someone has a situation, they talk to the boss right there on the floor, in the middle of the business, and I don't understand.
And often they do, but
What?
often they do.
They
You know,
do?
They do that.
Yeah.
But there's other times where someone asks for, you know, can we speak somewhere privately?
Sure, but I have to believe that's the exception, not the rule, and that in most cases, that business, even though it might be preferable or nice to have a private discussion, in most cases, most discussions about exceptions or ways of doing business or special situations take place right there in public, over the counter, or, you know, in the store, or some, you know.
we only use that as one example of the need for a terminal manager's office.
Yeah.
I mean, there are,
Well, that was the main scenario.
That was
you laid out.
that was unfortunate. That was-
Why they need, and these are, these two areas, the terminal manager office and the terminal agent office, these are places that you can't go into because you need a TSA pass. But a customer can go in if he has a special.
If that's escorted.
On this course. You can go on this course.
Ah, okay, well, so, I mean, there's a it just seems to me like if you were more imaginative and flexible about how the situations work. In the Coast Guard, if they need a conference facility, a multi-purpose room, you go 100 yards over the hill to the Coast Guard base, and there's all kinds of facilities, richly, newly rebuilt facilities over there for the Coast Guard. Almost every scenario that you've laid out in this part of the discussion has alternative ways of happening, it seems to me. And now, I don't know everything about how things work, but I do know, I see what you have now, and it seems to work okay. And I've been an observer of the steamship authority since 1960, so
Okay, great.
when I was 12, I know how things work in general over there, and it seems like your regulations have grown, no question about it, and the need for training has grown and all that stuff. So I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen, but I'm asking if you have considered ways of doing it that don't impact our village as strongly.
We have considered the ways, and I think
All of
we've
them.
discussed it. Well, without listing them all, I can't say all of them. But we, and it was my mistake in putting it as the first example of the need for a terminal manager's office, only the customer situation. But there are, most businesses where I've been associated, most supervisors of employees, managers of employees, do have a private place, their own office, where they can talk in private with their own employees about medical situations, personal situations, disciplinary situations, a whole host of things. They need a private place in order to do their reporting requirements, everything else they do. And that goes both for the terminal manager and the agent, because they each have their own. The terminal manager is dealing with a personnel issue or other type of issue in his office or her office. Because thankfully we do have women terminal managers. That the terminal agents can continue to function in their office without imposing. So we think there are many good reasons why it's customary to have both of those offices in the terminal. In fact, we're combining all the terminal agents into one office. They don't take much space there relative to the entire building. We think they're necessary. And we're building this building for 50 years. And we have an obligation not to be short-sighted in terms of our operations as well as community and say, for this amount of space, is that appropriate? And even the terminal manager, Rob has said he can do with a smaller office, and that's great, but he needs an office.
Yeah.
I mean, these are not jobs where they can telecommute in.
No, but for example, a corner of a multi-purpose room with a desk that locks.
I don't think that's being fair to our terminal
It
just
could be, it's a question of your terminal manager and our community and the right trade-offs. Another issue that I have been saving up in this discussion has been about the 5 ticket windows. You need 5 ticket windows in the summer, there's no question about that. You need remote lots in the summer, not so much in the winter. Why not put a ticket agent or 2 in the remote lots who can sell the tickets and deal with the reservation changes and all that?
We already started that. We started at the
Good, okay, well, so, but what, but.
You got that one.
Okay, well, that's good, I'm glad. Well, why, but do you still need 5 windows in the winter time in Woods Hole? In the fall and the spring in Woods Hole?
No, we don't staff the current building in the winter at the same staffing levels we have in the summer.
Yes.
But the physical space is still there because otherwise we need it in the summer. But we have started, we're looking at ways to decrease the lines there. That's why we started that this summer with the note. And it did decrease the line, but the line is still substantial.
Yeah.
The line is still substantial. And we, again, certainly in the current situation, we've come to the conclusion we need the 5 windows. Is there some time in the future when we go through all the process, years down the road, you know, all electronic, all this, may there be a need for fewer? There may be, but we don't guarantee that. We don't think there will be.
Mhm.
And so we're just, you know, and again, that's a very small portion of the building. The driving impact of this.
The largest part
is the
is
lobby
the
and-
1,900 square feet where the tickets are sold and the passengers wait.
It's the waiting area.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
the
what-
waiting
But they might wait regardless if they're buying the ticket there or not.
So the other part would be having, in the summer, when your waiting area is crowded, have remote waiting areas or awnings, places. I have noticed, excuse the slight digression, when I come over the Bourne Bridge, it takes me exactly 22 minutes to get to my house in almost every case. Now, the remote lots are this side of the main traffic bottlenecks. You do have the hospital lights, for example, but those delays are knowable. With Google traffic, you can know plus or minus a minute. So you could queue up, you could have remote waiting rooms in the summer, queue up the cars or the buses, and with just plus or minus 2 or 3 minutes, know exactly when they're going to be in Woods Hole, exactly how long it takes to get the cars on the ferry, get the passengers off the buses, down to the end of the dock and onto the ramps and onto the ferries. And you could do much of this remotely in the summer because the data are available. And the travel times are knowable.
So you're talking about building a waiting area?
Yeah, building
in this
wait-
lot or the Palmer, the Thomas Landers lot?
Yeah, or the one out on Sandwich Road, whatever, that you can move when you built this complex in here, the promise was that we wouldn't have a big building in Woods Hole. That we could have most of the functionality here. Well, you could extend that philosophy to the remote lots, couldn't you? I mean, when you need the capacity in the summertime, you don't have to have everybody waiting down there on the dock to go to the vineyard.
I think, I mean, this may be the same as the turntable, but I think there are a number of operational issues with that. And we have had discussions about doing that type of stuff for vehicles and certainly, you know, at other places too. And we have concluded too many things can go wrong with too many people to have that function on an ongoing basis. I mean, those are the gist of discussions that.
Do you use Google Maps with Google Traffic?
I use Google Maps.
It's like, it really solves a whole lot of problems.
Another issue is we are at capacity and strained at capacity with our entire shuttle bus system now. The number of shuttle buses that we would need, not only to carry the people who are coming down on an ongoing basis and carry them back up, with the, you know, having people wait in remote areas and carrying 300, 600 people down with the shuttle buses would be an extraordinary caravan to come down instead of how we do it now, which is somewhat on
On a
extreme
rotating basis
on a
where
rotating basis.
a lot of people are take an early shuttle bus and then they're waiting there and they have to have real estate if the weather is bad to wait in and all that stuff. So the question is, what's the trade-off between, you know, if you made a smaller building for less money that had less impact on our community and bought a few more buses and built some relatively inexpensive buildings or even awnings, since we're talking summertime, you know, couldn't we figure out a way to move the functionality that you want to, that you're currently planning to have in the Woods Hole terminal? Couldn't we move the overcapacity part that's